Welcome back to Play Your Way, everybody, your weekly video game podcast covering gaming news, reviews, and more. I'm your host, Johnny Moore here, and today we got a bunch of awesome, fun little segments planned for you, including we're going to be talking about one of the biggest games of the year, which has completely shocked a lot of people. But yeah, we have an exciting show planned, and this week, I have a special guest, somebody you haven't seen on the channel ever, yeah, which is crazy that it's taken this long to happen, but here it is. Jordan, how is it going?
Hello, welcome. Glad to be here. Welcomed is what I should say. Welcome, like it's my thing.
Yeah,
this isn't my thing. Welcome,
hey.
Feeling welcome. You said I was special, and I got flustered. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's true. It's true.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem. I was telling Jordan earlier, whenever I introduced him, he could literally say whatever he wants, like, as his introduction. I could tell, I told him he could just pop in and say, Black Myth sucks. He can say like, I don't even know, whatever. But, nah, he did that well.
No, you flustered me, called me special. Flustered me, sorry.
Yeah, but real quick, before we get into it, do you want to, just plug anything?
I mean, I do have a Twitch channel. I don't stream that much anymore, but I mean, twitch.com/Prater2321, Prater 2321. If you do want to follow, I might start getting active again. I'd like to. I'm just,
busy man.
Not right now, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Other than that, no, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go give that guy a follow. He absolutely deserves it. But
spread love.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, we have an exciting show planned for you. Multiple segments, like I said, and I think we have technically 6. 2 of them are like every week type things, but yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're gonna get some housekeeping out the way just for all my viewers and consistent subscribers, whatever. Some housekeeping. This week has been a little bit slow and short of videos just because I've been absolutely stuck in a game. Like, not even like I've been stuck at a certain part. There have been moments, but I've just been absolutely glued to a game, and I have not been able to put that game down, unfortunately. And so, yeah, there was kind of been a little bit of shortage of videos there, but don't worry, I have multiple videos planned, and this next week should be, I'm going to upload more than normal this next week just to make up for it, and luckily there's not going to be a super difficult long game coming out here in like the next couple weeks, so I shouldn't be stuck on another game. But nonetheless, yeah, videos will start coming back out. I'm probably going to try and get a video up tonight, my Star Wars Final Expectations, just because we're getting close to the review embargo for that. And then I have a bunch of fun stuff planned for the rest of the year. Or not the rest of the year, the rest of the week. And the rest of the month, honestly, because we're nearing the end of August, which means September's coming up. And y'all already know September is going to be crazy. But let's get started with tradition. Jordan.
Yeah.
What have you been playing recently?
Well, apart from the hot topic of today.
Oh man, hot topic.
apart from the hot topic of the day, I will say that even though I'm like a year late to the party, I've been getting pretty heavy into Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, that's right.
The last 3 weeks or so. Literally about 125 hours in the last 3 weeks I've put into Baldur's Gate 3.
See,
I can't
so
stop playing,
I actually already knew you were going to talk about this, so I've already prepared B-roll for Baldur's Gate. Yep, I'm prepared. I'm prepared.
Got to. Game's so good, dude. The game is so good.
Yeah, we have. I used to have a co-host who was on here every week, where I would ask every week, "What have you been playing?" And every week it was Baldur's Gate 3, and so it's kind of like a running joke now.
I get that. I get it because I can't put the game down like for real. I'll admit last night when I was tired, I didn't want to try so hard, so I played Baldur's Gate for about an hour before I went to bed. So yeah,
I feel that.
It's so good, dude. I can't stop. I just started a Dark Urge playthrough on it, and I already feel so terrible. So because
what was you had something happen to you in your first playthrough or something.
Yeah, man. So it was my own bonehead mistake. Like I was super mad and irritated about it, like it was the game's fault, but it wasn't. It was 100% mine. I'm someone that doesn't like to have a lot of like save files just cramping up in the area, so I go through and delete as everything's going on. So I accidentally deleted a whole bunch of saves all at one time. manual saved during a dialogue, and then the game auto saved, and those were the only 2 saves that I had. And I was caught in a battle that there was no chance that I could win because I wasn't prepared. I was in the forest where like the dark curse is everywhere, and 2 of my party were affected, and I couldn't get away from them, and they were attacking me, and everybody was hostile because I hadn't had conversations with anybody. And I basically soft locked myself out of a 30-hour excursion and had to start all over. So,
Dang.
yeah, that was very unfortunate.
That really sucks.
But I started back over. I'm going through the game with a fine-tooth comb, and I've had a much better experience the second time through, so it's bittersweet. So,
cool.
You know.
Yeah, this is a game.
Lining.
This is one of the games where I am fully what's the word? I'm fully happy admitting it's just not for me. But it's also one of those games I have so much respect for it. Like, I can't say anything bad about it other than it's not for me. Like it's one of those things. Like, I've tried like 5 hours of it with a friend, which I know 5 hours for what the game isn't a lot, but
yeah, it's nothing.
But like, yeah, in everyday life, five hours is a good chunk of time. So
it is,
and it just didn't click with me. So yeah,
That's
I just
fair.
didn't. Yeah, but.
And I completely get that. I'm playing on like the second easiest difficulty. Like I don't have it cranked. I love the story. I love the way that things are playing out. I love the options. I love that there's alternate endings based off of like based off of like actions and what you can do and what you say and words that you just the fact that there's so many different alleys and you can crank hundreds of hours into one playthrough, and I've already started the game over 2 or 3 times just to have ideas of what I know I want to do in another playthrough. That's just what draws me to it so much.
Yeah, I mean, easily my favorite part of the game, even though I didn't click with it. Like, I was having such a blast making my character and everything. Like, oh my god, it is such an awesome character creation.
I'm super tedious about it. Every time I level up, I go back into the magic mirror and like edit and like re-dye my armor different colors and make my hair different colors. I'm super weird about it, but it's just fun. It's the way I like to play it. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, real quick, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last podcast, but I started Mass Effect 2 right before Black Myth came out. Black Myth Wukong. I haven't played it since Black Myth Wukong came out. No surprise there. But as soon as Black Myth gets done, and as soon as I start Star Wars and get pretty decent through there, I'll probably jump back into Mass Effect for a little bit. But because I do want to finish that before we get too deep in all these games coming out.
Yeah, I remember you posting on like Snap that you wanted to try to beat Mass Effect before Black Myth Wukong
that
came
did
out. There's no shot.
Yeah, there was absolutely no shot. I mean, I really tried to, but yeah, it just didn't play it out. It didn't play out.
Yeah.
Shoot, if I just locked in like I locked into Black Myth, I probably could have done it. But like, my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right. So real quick before we get into the hot topic, Jordan, since this is your first time here,
yeah, we
don't really know who you are outside of me introducing you. So I'm gonna let you do a proper introduction. You can say whatever you want. You can even say stuff that isn't gaming related, like what you do in your everyday life, whatever. It don't matter. But we do have some questions for you, in terms of games. Cool. So real quick, I'll just let you introduce yourself, and you can say what some of your favorite games of all time are.
Okay, cool. So yeah, my name is Jordan. I do go by Prater. A lot of the thing, like I said, when I plugged my Twitch channel earlier, Prater, it's my last name, so there's a good community of people that call me Jordan or that call me Prater, some that do both. So either or is also fine if you ever meet me someday. So yeah, I born right here in Indiana. I've never left. It's just kind of where I see myself probably for the long haul. As far as gaming goes, my favorite game of all time is the original edition of Fable: The Lost Chapters, the extended edition of the first Fable game. That's probably my favorite game of all time if I had to pick one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, a close second to that, honestly, would probably be Skate 2 on the 360.
Hey, that's a fire pick. That's a fire pick.
Yeah, that game.
I love that.
Yeah, Skate 2 is one of those games for a while that every year or so I would pull out the 360, pop that thing in, and like 100% it.
That is
It's
absolutely.
just such a good game. Skate 3 was cool, but it missed the ambiance that Skate 2 brought. I just that's why I'm kind of hoping maybe the new one's good. I'm kind of nervous for the new one because it's going to be a free to play game with microtransactions, and I'm kind of concerned that it's not going to be a good story game. But we'll see. Maybe they won't let us down, but we'll find out.
Skate 2 is absolutely a childhood game of mine as well.
It's so good, dude.
Hot take. I agree with you. I low-key like Skate 2 more than 3. I love 3 as well, but I Skate 2 just has something special about it. Like it just has like.
So good.
It just has like an aura. It's different.
So good. And the original Tony Hawk Underground too. I would love to see like a remaster or a remake of that.
I hear a lot of good things about that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, disregarding what some of your favorite games of all time are, this year, what have been some of your favorite games? Give me like your top 3. Top 3.
So I've been a little under the radar on some of them. I am kind of locked out on Nintendo. I feel like it's sort of been a big year for a lot of Nintendo games this year, and sort of some of the games that I'm into as well. But if I had to pick them, I'm going to go a little askew with my number 2. But my number 3 game this year, right now, that I've been and had the most fun with is probably Dragon's Dogma 2. I actually had a load of fun with that game. It is a little clunky at times, but the charm of it for me is just a game that I put a 65-hour playthrough into and just had such a great time playing it. Number 2 for me this year, I'm going to go ahead and count the Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm going to go ahead and just count that.
Allowed.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to call it for that. I still, to this day, have not beaten Phase 2 of Consort Radon, but it's going to happen eventually whenever I can swallow my pride and jump back in the game. And then number 1 for me is a real easy one. It's a real easy one for me.
Nice.
It's going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for me this year. It's my game of the year this year. Black Myth Wukong is so good, and I think if anything should beat Rebirth, it should be Wukong. It shouldn't be anything else. But my vote, biased 100%, my vote is Rebirth this year. But
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I had to break it to you. I don't think your biased take there is the minority. I'm pretty sure probably majority of people have played Rebirth to a really good extent. It's their game of the year as well. And as far as I'm concerned, it is the front runner to actually win it this year.
Really hoping so.
Yeah, it's just that game. it's just that game.
I don't know, man. If you're into Shroud at all, he thinks if Wukong doesn't win, the rewards are rigged. So controversial topic.
Shroud said that.
That's what I heard. That's what I read on the old X Factor.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I mean that's definitely an interesting conversation we'll have when we get into that actual topic.
Sure.
But all right, what are some of the upcoming games this year that you're really excited for? This one I'm curious because I don't even know if I know this, to be honest with you.
Man, this year I'm gonna be also 100% real. I'm kind of tapped out a little bit for this year personally, and that's I hate that that's sort of what it is. I think Sparking Zero is gonna be really good. I'm looking forward to seeing if I can maybe get back into like a Dragon Ball game because I've sort of been out of the fighting game scene for a hot couple of years. So I think maybe if Sparking Zero ends up being pretty good. I will say, well, I guess sort of like homage because it sort of just came out. College football was probably my last one apart from Wukong that I was sort of excited for. So once those two kind of came out, like everything is kind of like next year for me.
Next year looks crazy. Next year is.
It does. It
next
does.
Year's
I'm really hoping that the new Fable is good. Obviously.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's crazy because that's your favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
Wow, that would.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Hey, I'm hoping for you. And I'm rooting for you. That's like
Yeah,
something
no.
that like even if you don't like Fable, like if you know somebody who's like getting a sequel to like one of their favorite games of all time, like you can't help but like be like a little bit like,
You played the original Fables,
oh
haven't you?
yeah. I've played
Okay.
I've played Fable 1 and 2. I played 3. I didn't finish it. Uh, I yeah yeah.
Did you play the original Fable, or did you play like the
Anniversary
edition?
anniversary?
Okay.
Yeah.
The anniversary looks incredible. They changed some of the mechanics though on it for some of the gameplay, but that's tedious. We don't need to get into that.
Yeah. Austin is in the chat, but by the way, if you wanna.
Austin,
Yeah.
Post Malone. Wait,
What? What? What does that mean?
because Post Malone's name's also Austin, and he has the long hair. And...
Oh. That one threw me off completely.
That's fine. Sorry.
So
Just off the cuff.
let's
Off the
go.
cuff, sorry.
Let's go through some of the biggest games releasing the rest of the year. And tell me what your thoughts and opinions are about them.
Sure. Sure.
Star Wars Outlaws. You looking forward to that next week?
Yeah. I'm a little skeptical, of course.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those games where some of the trailers make it look not as good as it is, where it's like, oh, the trailers make the game look really good, and then the game comes out and it's not. I'm kind of hoping this is one of those games that's vice versa, because to me, some of the early onset footage and the differences of, which, that's petty. I get that from, early on dev footage showing now, and then, a year later, and look how cruddy it looks. But the gameplay might be really fun. The open world aspect is a really cool sort of change. I honestly loved how expansive Survivor felt. I kind of thought that was sort of open worldy. So if they're still gonna quote this as like the first open world Star Wars game, that just makes me wonder how large it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And apart from, as long as they don't fill it with nothing and Final Fantasy 15 it, as long as there's a lot to that big world that's interesting, I think they can do a good job. So.
Well, see, I think that brings up a good point about it. Is I think one of my biggest things I'm excited about, which is really weird, is if it was just a Ubisoft Star Wars game, I think I'd be less excited than the fact that it is an open world game. Because the one thing Ubisoft almost never misses on is their open worlds. Like, they just have open world down, and they know how to fill it up. Sometimes too much. But like they know how to fill up an open world, so I do think that is something that's really, really exciting when it comes to that. Astrobot, how you feeling about that one?
Dude, Astrobot looks so good. Mm-hmm. I'm actually mad I forgot about Astrobot, that I didn't write it down. That is one that I'm actually really looking forward to, especially after doing a little more training on it at work. The retail establishment that I work at. I don't know if we're supposed to name drops. I feel
you
like
can. I mean, unless it's like a privacy thing for you, don't matter.
I'm actually not sure, so I'm not gonna say it.
Fair enough.
Because I'm not sure if I'm allowed.
Fair enough.
just so I don't for somehow get.
He works at a video game retailer, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I say it on Twitch, right? I work at GameStop.
There we go. We got there. We got there eventually.
I just won't say which one, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, no, but okay. So yeah, but doing some trainings at work about it and learning a little more about it and finding out like how many different planets there are going to be that you can explore, and that basically your goal is to save the astrobots that are themed like the games. Like that's sort of going to be the motif of the game, and you're like traveling on the PS5. Dude, it looks so good. Like it's giving what Astro's Playroom was
times 20
to just like highlight the features of the DualSense and what like the PS5 like is going to be and what it's doing to gaming. That was just so fun and like interactive. And if you've never played Astro's Playroom, go play Astro's Playroom. It's so fun. It's so fun to go through and like play, because a lot of games still aren't fully utilizing the DualSense.
Yeah,
and that's 100% like what the Playroom is for. The whole game is you experiencing it like through the controller, and that was just such a cool way to do it for free.
Yep. Now we have an Astrobot controller.
Now now there's going to be an Astrobot controller, and we're going to get to play it. He's getting his own full-length game, and I love that about it. Yeah, no, the Astrobot was so cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I genuinely do think that has a 10 out of 10 like chance of being a Game of the Year contender. Like, I genuinely...
If it's good enough, it should at minimum be nominated.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think there's... I just don't see a reality where it isn't at least nominated. Like, if it's literally if it's to the level of Playroom, just a full-length game, it is going to be fantastic.
Sure, 100%.
But, all right, some other games. We're only going to talk about the massive ones. I know you said you tapped out of Nintendo, but Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah, that game does look really cool. I'm interested to see. I really like the art style that they did with Link's Awakening, even though I didn't play it.
Tell me.
I just like I said, I think that's a really like neat art style, and I've watched like some gameplay on it, and it does look interesting. And actually getting to play a Zelda this time around, I know is huge. Obviously.
Yep.
I'm wondering how spammy her ability is going to be.
Everybody's wondering how it's actually going to play.
Where you can just where you can just multiply the tables. Like, is it going to be one of the experiences? Like, often, because like they do it in Baldur's Gate too, where you can like stack, crates on crates on crates on crates on crates to like get into areas that you're really not supposed to be into that early. Like, is it going to be where people can glitch it that much on Echoes of Wisdom? So yeah, no, I think that has a lot of potential to be a really cool game. And if they apart from just like the fun and like clunkiness you can have with the game mechanics, where they like Tears of the Kingdom it and everybody's just making epic creations and doing stuff with it, make a good story with it too, it's going to be huge. So.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that could be a Game of the Year contender. I mean, it's Zelda don't really miss.
Yeah, again, if it's good enough, there's some real bangers to come. Like I said, it's just unfortunate it's all ones I'm probably not going to play. I hate that.
Yeah,
I need to get a Switch. I know it. I know I do.
Hey, at this rate though, just wait to the Switch 2.
Yeah, I'm
at this rate.
I'm gonna.
Silent Hill 2. This one's interesting because recently reviews have been glowing.
Yeah,
but up until then, I thought it looked terrible.
Apparently.
So
yeah. I wasn't a Silent Hill player. Again, there's a lot of franchises I unfortunately like missed out on. I was I was a very late bloomer to good franchises.
Yes, me too.
I didn't really get into like that many good franchises until my like mid-20s. Probably like my first like expansive experience was probably Skyrim whenever that came out. Apart from that, it like Fable. I played a lot of Fable, so like that was out of the box. And then I played like sports games. I was Madden. I was NBA. I played the skateboarding games because everybody played skate. I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was, whether everybody just wanted to skateboard. Skateboarding was cool to everybody. At least, where I grew up at in my school, that was just cool to do.
Yep.
So, but like I didn't play any of the Final Fantasies until later. Like I didn't play RPGs. There's tons of stuff that still to this day I want to go back and visit too, like the Mass Effect. For instance, like I also went through and played like 20 solid hours of the first one, never got any further than that. I would like to go through and finish those eventually. So, but
they're awesome.
But yeah, for sure.
I didn't realize how relatable, or similar we are. Like, cause I am also like, even though I'm definitely younger, like on the younger side of audiences.
Sure.
But like, I would also consider myself like a late bloomer when it comes to like just playing as many games as I do now. Like up until 2018, all I played was like the Call of Duty's Rocket Leagues of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the exception of like Just Cause, just because that's just a stupid like mess around and blow stuff up game.
Yeah. Wreck 'em up game. I do not have a Switch, Austin. No.
But then like things like God of War, Spider-Man came out, and like I played those at the time. That's when I started playing single-player games, but I wasn't, like, invested. I was just playing them because they were the hot talk of the town. Like, I didn't play them because I was actually, like, super invested in the story or anything. And then it wasn't until, like, I played single-player games all throughout 2018 and 2019, but, like, again, I just wasn't super invested. But then it wasn't until 2020 when Ghost of Tsushima came out, where like it like
so good.
It like really hit me like, holy crap, this is what video games are meant for. Like the storytelling, the experiences, like the world, like that's what really made me be like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to play games like this. And then that's when I just started getting super invested in everything. I replayed Spider-Man, I replayed God of War, and like actually paying attention and being invested in it. I fell in love with all those. And then yeah, it was like, because that was also the year of the pandemic, so I had plenty of time to just go back, and I started playing tons of games, old Final Fantasies, like just tons of franchises, and I did that through a lot of 2021 as well. And now yeah, I've played so much stuff, and now I'm even this year I've gone back and started like replaying up a bunch of older stuff just because I have a new perspective on so many things now. Like Devil May Cry 5, I played that in 2019 when it came out. I thought it was really good. It was really fun, but I didn't like appreciate it the way I did this year when I played it again. I was like,
did you play the originals?
Original Devil May Cries?
Like the first 4?
Yeah.
Like when they were OGs?
So I've played... So here's the thing. When I say I went back and played a lot, I wouldn't say I finished a lot, but I definitely went back and played. Like I've put like a good chunk of time into a lot of things, and
just to experience them. Sure.
Right,
Sometimes
exactly.
That's all you need sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. And Devil May Cry is some of those. I went back and played a lot of them. Devil May Cry 1 I did. I don't think I did 2. I don't think I did 2 for some reason. I did 3 because I heard that one was the best. And then I did play 4 a lot. But, yeah. So, yeah, I think we can definitely relate there, being a little late to the party when it comes to a lot of things. But we're here. We're here now.
Hey, we're doing it.
We're doing it. This one I'm pretty confident you're excited for. Black Ops 6.
Yeah, I'm hoping the story mode's good this time around for sure. I mean, obviously, if the multiplayer is fun and whatever integration they bring into Warzone, making that fun and sort of bringing that back to life, I think would be cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anything will live up to pandemic Warzone times. I really don't think you can, just because of the raw. Like, this is just what we're doing.
Yeah.
But obviously, the zombies looks really good, bringing the round base back, having multiple maps that are going to be on it, a lot of the mechanics they're bringing into it.
Yeah.
What was it, like a 20-minute video they put of like the gameplay.
Yeah, it's like 17 minutes,
sick.
I think.
Looks sick.
Yeah, it looks really good.
So good. It looks very intense. Looks live. It looks very action packed. Obviously, going to be pretty fun. It even looks like it might be fun by yourself.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be stupid to do by yourself because God, the hordes looked insane.
Yeah.
But that's fun. I just hope they really bring it with the story mode this time around, because last year's story being like the open concept, like a objective base sort of built around a couple of cinematics. It was that's not what I wanted. In especially because Modern Warfare 2 was such a good story mode, but like the multiplayer was a letdown. So it was like they dropped the ball in 3 and did the opposite. And it's like let's figure it out this time. But the amount of years they've had to develop Black Ops 6 hopefully will bring some good news.
Bro, Austin's over here hating on you because you don't have a Switch, man.
I know, dude. Over 100 million people. Dude, okay, so I used to have a Switch. You remember I mentioned the pandemic? I had a Switch, got it right before, and unfortunately, due to hard times, I had to sell it, and I just never got another one. So I used to have a Switch. I played some of the Pokemons, and I played Animal Crossing, and did a couple of things like that. But yeah, I just haven't had one for a good couple of years.
All right, the next game. I think there's we got like 3 more games to talk about for this year.
Yeah. Let's go.
This one is easily my second most anticipated. Astrobot's easily number 1 for me. But Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Okay. Yeah.
How you feeling about that?
I think the game looks cool. I know there was a lot of again, it was one of those franchises I just never really played much. I watched some gameplay on it, and I've got some buddies that are really intense fans of it. You being one of them.
Hold on, whoa. Hey, I'll pause you right. I wouldn't consider myself a fan.
No.
I wouldn't. My excitement for it is genuinely just because I think it looks really good.
Oh, I thought you liked one of the.
So I've played Inquisition, maybe a quarter of the way through.
Okay, I thought.
And I thought it was
you hyped it up one day. I thought.
And I thought it was really good. But I just think the game looks really, really good, and I've heard Dragon Age is phenomenal, and up until recently, I started playing the Mass Effect games, and I'm realizing how good those games are, and this is the same studio that did those, so you kind of combine everything. My excitement's really just kind of flew out of proportion, to be honest with you. And yeah, that's why I'm super. I wouldn't consider myself a Dragon Age fan. I know nothing about it, to be honest with you.
Okay, so we're kind of essentially in the same boat.
Yeah,
Like,
my excitement is genuinely just confidence.
Yeah, visuals,
like,
visuals, and
Which,
having some faith in like the animation style of it, because you know they're going like a little more simplistic. They're not going more like realism with like the characters and the people, and maybe that's just gonna the type of game that it is, being like the fantasy type action that it is. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to, like, maybe that more, you know, less realism type style is exactly what a fantasy type game like this needs.
I will say, in today's day and age,
Sometimes.
maybe something like that could help compromise for games running so poorly, because something like Black Myth Wukong, for instance, looks so realistic and looks so beautiful that sometimes it's really hard to run it. And maybe having a more simplistic art style like that can help with that. So maybe we'll see.
Sure.
But all right, Assassin's Creed Shadows.
I hope this game is good. Let me say.
Don't we all?
I think some of the gameplay does sort of make it look a little less aerodynamic than I wanted them to move away from, or to get more back to, because, you know, Mirage was fun, the movement around Mirage was fun, but it was still a little clunky. Not quite as freeing as like the parkour used to be on some of the original games.
AC
even though
Unity,
I was terrible,
bro. AC
even though I was
Unity
terrible at the original games, because the stealth, I was so bad at stealth when those games were out. I played like I dabbled in all the Assassin's Creed games, but no more than like an hour and a half, because the game would start to get real and I would just be awful. Yeah, just being 100% honest, I was not very great at the Assassin's Creed games until they became RPGs later on. But Assassin's Creed's been begging to be in Japan for the long time, the longest time. So I'm hoping that it's a lot more fun, and some of the bad rap it gets for being, you know, so microtransaction-y with different stuff that you can get inside of it, and the different versions, and $40 differences between this version and like that version. I just hope that can get looked over, and that the game just, you know, pulls through. It doesn't need to, you know, bring it everywhere, but just be fun. Be fun. If you're a little clunky, like, you know, make up for it, which, you know, Mirage did. Like, Mirage being clunky made up for it with all the tools and gadgets that you did. So just do the same thing with Shadows.
Austin's over here throwing, making two games compete with each other over here. I don't know how I feel about that.
Also, let's do what like the like Odyssey and stuff did, where your decisions like really deciphered things within the game. So there could be like consequences and like rewards, and people could die or not die depending on your playthrough.
Oh,
like
that's what you're
didn't
saying.
have a lot of that. It was kind of just straightforward. This is the story.
Well, that's where the RPG stuff comes in right there.
Right. So yeah, like again, like I know a lot of people are sort of wanting AC to move away from the RPG, but I feel like if they can refine it and do a good job with adding that aspect to it, like let's have a fun world of both.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm right there with you, though. I just hope it's good. I hope it's good.
I think Shadows look better than Outlaws. Is that what I'm reading? Okay.
That's what he said. Yep.
Okay.
Indiana,
I would say I'm more excited for Shadows than Outlaws.
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
I am weirded out by the first-person aspect of this game. I think I'm the only one that are. But, no. You know, I've never had a project that I've seen with Troy Baker in it that I haven't enjoyed. I feel like Troy Baker wouldn't make a trash game, and he wouldn't be excited about making a trash game. So I 100%, again, I'm going to be a biased opinion. I'm going to stand by the guy that's playing indie and thinking that, you know, he knows what he's doing. I think it can be fun to experience it in first person. It's just going to take a minute for me to get used to it. It just seems a very third person-y type game because I guess I'm just sort of thinking it's going to be like Uncharted. And even though I didn't play all too much of the Uncharted's, I played again. I played the good first like hour of probably all of them. I just never beat them, never owned them. I just played them at buddies' houses because I didn't even have PlayStation until later in life either. I was an Xbox guy for a long time, so I was just late to the game. But I think if they make it where it's not just like quick time events in first person, it's going to be good. I just don't know. I wonder if it's going to be more like Skyrim-y as far as like the movement, like in first person. Like, is there going to be like a lot of movement and motion? Is it going to be like a lot of clunkiness as far as like how agile and mobile are you going to feel with it? Like,
have you ever played the Wolfenstein games by chance?
Yes.
It's
which I forget which one it was, but yeah, it was free on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be like that, just because it's from the same studio that does it. So
yeah.
It'll probably be similar. I will say to go off kind of what you said. I do think while I agree, it seems like it should be third person, but I think what's really good about it being first person is it is going to have really good separation from the Uncharted and Tomb Raiders of the world,
right?
Where it's going to feel very different. Because if it was third person, it's just going to be comparisons to Uncharted and Tomb Raider left and right. Whereas now it's kind of going to be its own thing. So I do appreciate that, and I think that is something going for it. But I do agree. It's just so weird. Like it feels like a missed opportunity not being third person, but then like it makes sense at the end of the day. But
yeah,
cool. All right, well, there you have it. You guys learned a little bit about Jordan and just his takes and everything on video games. But let's get talking about the hot topic of the show, ladies and gentlemen. This week, apparently the biggest game of the year released. That being...
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie.
Ball don't lie.
Black Myth Wukong. Now, before we get talking, let me just go ahead and spit out some of these numbers because, Landon, we are literally witnessing in real time one of the greatest success stories I think I've ever seen in gaming ever.
Huge.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane what this game has been able to do. Let me see if I can find exactly how we're doing here. Because it had like there's so many different records that it broke. Yo, what is going on, Peter? Welcome to the stream. Let me see if I can, hang on. Dude, yeah, I saw like they broke like 20,000 different records or something. They broke like, I don't know. But the big one, ladies and gentlemen, is that in 3 days the game sold 10 million copies. Which, to put it into retrospective, sold more than God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, a bunch of other ones. I can't remember. I can't find this dang post, unfortunately. But it absolutely is crushing it in terms of numbers. I know I only listed off PlayStation games, which I'm sorry. I think it also beat Cyberpunk, I think. I think that was one of the other ones that it did. But I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to find this. I'm really trying.
Professional podcast.
I'm trying. Yeah. Here we go. We got it. I got it. Yeah, it sold over 2.2 million peak concurrent users on Steam in 24 hours, making it the most popular single-player game on Steam ever. The debut trailer that it had surpassed 55 million views. It had 4 million wish lists on Steam, so that goes to tell you exactly how it sold 10 million copies, because there was already 4 million wish lists.
Quickly, Steam alone right now, 726,000 people on Steam alone are playing this game.
Yep. And
China's
asleep.
In the last 24 hours, 2.2 million was the peak.
Yep.
At one time on Steam alone.
Oh yeah, this one I find really interesting. Hang on. First, it has 97% of Steam reviews are positive, with over 250,000 reviews. So 97% of that is positive, which is crazy.
Do you want an updated number?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's at 96% now.
Okay.
Okay, but it's 422,000 up.
Holy crap! That's
Yeah.
insane. That's insane.
Dude.
This one's such an interesting record. It broke Steam's download bandwidth record, meaning there were more people downloading that game at one time than any game has been downloaded before. That is such an interesting number.
Bars.
700,000 gamers signed up for the limited 30,000 physical copy special that they're running. The game is being covered by national news in China, which is crazy. There are 29 million viewers on launch day, with over 1 million donations for streamers playing the game.
Yep.
And PS5s are completely sold out in China due to this game's release. So multiple conclusions from this. Number one, congratulations, Game Science, for releasing your very first game ever with a completely new IP and pretty much blowing a ton of major known franchises out the water. You made them look crappy, honestly. I just can't believe how well Black Myth is doing. I can't say I'm surprised because it looked phenomenal from the get-go. Second conclusion, this is absolutely going down in the history books as probably the most important Chinese video game or Chinese developed video game ever created. Because what this game does, number one, it shows you the market. The Chinese market is huge. People just haven't been able to tap into it until now. Which there have been games that blew up in China, but like not worldwide. Like it would be like China specific. But this is the first multi-million worldwide release on multiple platforms that is bringing these numbers. And yeah, it's just absolutely crazy what this game has been able to do. And yeah, I do think it is probably the most important game, Chinese developed game ever. And the third conclusion, this game is really good. And so we're gonna go ahead and talk about that right now. We're gonna get into our thoughts and impressions. We're gonna go on the deep scoop. Is it a Game of the Year contender? Is it as good as everyone says? Is it worth paying? Whatever. We're gonna talk about it right now. So where do we even start? Where do we even start? Do you have somewhere you want to start with this game?
I mean, I guess we could preface by, you know, saying about
how far we
are.
Yes.
As far as like, you know, length into the game. Do we do we have any thoughts so far through it comparatively? Because we've talked a little bit, you know, during it, and you know, we've had discussions a little bit. You're you know, a little bit further than me.
A little bit.
I unfortunately with work and a couple other things, just sort of, you know, living life and stuff, haven't been able to put quite as many hours into any game.
Of course.
This week, I probably haven't played more than 2 or 3 hours at a time. Yesterday, when I was playing Wukong for a little bit, that was probably the longest session all week for me. Been a little off the radar.
So how far are you in the game? How far are you?
Right now, I am breathing life into Chapter 2.
Okay.
I'm about 30 minutes into Chapter 2. Chapter 1 gave me quite a bit of grief, I'll admit. This game's difficult. This game is difficult. There's some skill issue, but it was only one boss for me. The rest of them were no more than about 5 tries.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How far are you, like, in terms of hours would you say you're in?
Probably like 4, 5 maybe. Something like that.
So
I know for a fact that I've missed stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
So,
It's crazy how much stuff is in this game. So I am a little bit ahead of you. I'm like 40 plus hours into the game.
Sure.
And I just beat chapter 5, meaning I am finally on the final chapter.
Yep. Almost there.
I can't wait. Like, I want to just,
almost there.
I want to just play it right after this podcast, but I need to do videos because I haven't done videos all week because of this game.
Right.
But just because we have hours in the game, just because we play it, doesn't mean we feel a certain way about it.
Yep.
So let's go ahead. What is your, before we start picking apart the game, before we start diving into each thing specific, what is just your overall consensus, your overall conclusion, opinion, take of the game so far, halfway or a little bit into chapter 2?
As far as like, do you want like a score or do you want like a summary?
Just a summary.
A summary. Okay. The game is surprisingly difficult for how strong you think you're going to be based off of the intro.
Interesting. Okay.
It's deceiving.
Okay.
But the game is so artistically creative
Oof.
that
Preach.
if you don't respect how much effort is really put, even in just the first 2 chapters alone, my experience with the design, the choices that they've made with the characters, and the story, even though they're based off things and there's like context to like build the story off of, the directive choice they visually took with this game is a solid 10 out of 10.
Solid.
The game itself, for me, I'm going to call it an 8 just because I'm not that far. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 as far as like a score right now through the first 2 chapters, because even though it's been extremely frustrating, I've had a good time being frustrated.
So I completely missed. I was reading a chat. What did you give it in terms of score?
As far as score so far, where I'm at 2 chapters in,
Yeah.
I'm giving it a solid 8 just because I know I haven't experienced anything. I think there's room to grow and room to grow down. My score might go down once I get it based off of my own opinion. Who knows? It might go up. It might become a solid 10. It might be a 9. I don't know right now. But I think even though the frustrations I've had have been visceral, I can't deny how fun the game's been so far.
Yeah. I guess I'll also give my overall summary. Like I said, I'm 40 plus hours into the game on the final chapter. What I'll start off by saying that I don't even remember the last time a game has had me literally sink my life into this game. Like the game came out Tuesday, and I have 40 plus hours in, and there's only 24 hours in a day, so and half of the day I sleep, so
Second full-time job this week.
yeah, right. Literally, that is
school,
so true.
Wukong.
That is so true.
Three jobs this week. Man's been putting in hours.
Yeah, Wednesday alone, I put in 11 hours straight, which I don't remember the last time a game did that. I really don't remember the last time. Probably, well, no, I don't know if I'd say 11 hours straight for Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is only 20 hours, like, in entirety, like, at least main story-wise. I don't know if I did 11 hours straight. But I've been absolutely glued to the game. Like, I just genuinely can't put it down. And then, yeah, I'm very, very far in it. And like I said, I'm very, very happy for the results the game is seeing. But that is not a reflection of how I feel about the game. Let me just say. It's a little... I don't know. This is a really interesting game to talk about. And I really won't know for certain how I feel about the game until I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Just because it's a chunky game. It is a chunky game. So many systems. So many different things. It's almost impossible unless you literally spend 100 hours 100%ing the game to experience it all. And 100 hours might be Weasley number for what it might actually take. I really don't know. So I really don't know where I'm sitting, but I think, I don't know, it's really hard. It's really hard to say. I think for me, I think you kind of hit it on the nail. Artistically, this game is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like, there are some things about this game that I would consider it the best in just gaming of all time. Like, there are some things. Very hot take, but there are some things, specific things, but there are some things nonetheless. I think bringing a mythology and culture alive, I don't know if any game has been able to do that the way Black Myth Wukong has. Like, I can see why China is in love with this game. Because it lives and breathes that culture and mythology to the absolute finest. Like, I don't know. I just can't imagine, because I don't know anything about the story, like, of Journey to the West, like what it's been based on.
No, me neither, unfortunately.
And so I can only imagine.
This game has made me feel bad about not knowing.
Right, exactly. And so I can only imagine, like, if I was a huge fan of that story, seeing all this come to life and all these references and everything, I can't imagine how exciting it would be for that. One thing I will say is I don't knock the game for its story because it is inspired by something I have no knowledge of, so I can't really knock it for that. You know, because you can compare it to something like God of War in terms of story, and yeah, it's nowhere near the amount of, like, hard emotional beats. It's nowhere near the thrilling, like, climaxes that happen, like, every 2 hours of the game. You know, it's nothing close to that, but it's world building and just making the setting and culture come alive is unlike any game, really. And it's something I think you can only do with a game like this, based off of mythology, stuff like that. I'll tell you, you gave a number, so I guess I'll give a number as well. This is hard. This is really hard.
So I gave room to grow or room to go down.
Yeah.
There's no judgments here. We're playing our way. Okay.
You're so right. So here's what I'll say. I think this game is easily in the top 10 favorite games of all time for me now.
Sure.
I'll say that. But this is also one of those games. There's a lot of flaws. There is a lot of flaws. Like, objectively, I agree with you. I think it's like an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Even farther into the game, saying about the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think this is such an interesting game to talk about, because I think the farther into the game I go, my objective point of view keeps going down, but my bias keeps going up. Because I keep noticing things that I'm like, I can see why people don't like that. Or, man, I wish they fine-tuned that. Or, man, I wish that wasn't the choice that they went to go with game design. But then...
Ooh, do you like it better than Ghost of Tsushima?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Sorry to derail you.
But...
Hot take question.
But then also the farther in I go, the more I keep falling in love with the places I'm going, the things I'm doing. Even though game design wise and like actual craftsmanship of the game, I keep noticing things that aren't ideal.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, for me, I use video games as an experience, as like I said, with something like Ghost of Tsushima. It's what brought to life, like, oh my god, this is why I love video games. Like, this is why I want to play video games. I'm getting that out of Black Myth, but I've gotten so knowledgeable about video games that when I see a lot of these things, creative decisions, craftsmanship wise, I notice its flaws, and I can't distract it. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is easily a journey, and that's something I absolutely prop this game for. It feels genuinely like a journey. Like the farther you're in, you'll like look back at some of the old places. Like after beating chapter 4, during chapter 5, I went back to the chapter 1 area just to like wander around and stuff. I like literally sat there and paused. I'm like, wow, I've come so far. Like, holy crap. Right. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember being back here, like, struggling to beat this one boss, and now I'm, like, 5 tapping it. Like, it's so interesting. It really does feel like a journey. And when you pair that with what the game is based around, the whole journey to the west, from what I understand, is just a journey of itself. Hence in the name. But, for me, when I just think about what I love when it comes to video games, it's like, I don't know if I could ask for much better. The only thing I can ask better for me is where my objective comes in, where fix up some of the flaws, fix up some of the performance issues, which I will say is a big thing here, and fix up some of just I would say just polish it a little more. I've had a couple game-breaking bugs, which I will say. Yeah. I sent you one last night. My screen just completely, like, it looked like someone punched my TV. Like, it just...
Yeah, what happened, like, right before that, you said?
A boss threw a projectile at me. I got hit by the projectile because I suck. And then it just... The whole screen just started spazzing out. Like, wow. The whole screen just broke.
It's probably intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just such an interesting game. We're going to start talking about more specific parts of the game. I know combat is one we haven't really touched on at all, so that is something going to be a big conversation. But, like, I think for me, you know, when I think of some of my favorite games of all time, those are games that leave a lasting impact on me. Ghost of Tsushima, a perfect example. Returnal is a great example. Alan Wake 2 is a great example. And all of those games have a specific thing that make it one of my favorite games of all time. Ghost of Tsushima, specifically, while I think the whole game is, like, easily my favorite thing in all of gaming, specifically, the story in that game is, like, the greatest thing in my heart. Like, there is nothing else in the world that could come close to the Ghost of Tsushima story that I experienced. Yeah. For Returnal, it's the gameplay. It's just my favorite gameplay I've ever played. For Alan Wake, it's also its story, but it's visuals as well. Honestly, it's visual storytelling. It's narrative. It's characters. It's music, right? For Black Myth: Wukong, I think it finally cracked the code for a game where, holy crap, I've fallen in love with a world. Right? Like, I'm not one of those people who likes collecting a lot of lore or anything. And even in this game, I haven't really, like...
I love lore.
I know. Even in this game, I haven't specifically gone out of my way a whole ton to find lore. But this is one of those games where it's not going to force a story with, like, minutes-long cutscenes in your face. It's not going to throw it at you. It's not going to be like, yo, watch this 5-minute epic cutscene about these characters sacrificing themselves. It's not that. It's...
Yeah, no, everything's like 15 seconds to 30 seconds right back into game.
Yep, but it's all just the world surrounding you. It's all your character doesn't talk. He doesn't interact with things all that much. He just experiences it all, and it just puts the player in that spot. And so I think this game, even if you're not into world building or like lore, like I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of it. Like I said, I don't really collect lore all that much. The game, instead of forcing a direct story to you, it almost forces this to you. Yeah. And that's where it hits different. It is not like other games where the lore is completely side. It's in your face. And it's all around. And when you pair that with what has been a 40-plus hour journey, that is what I love about the game. the world and the culture and the experience that it gives you. Because now we're going to go into it. I know I've been ranting a lot. We're going to go into it. But the combat, I think, complements it really well. Because,
100%.
Like, we're going to get into it, but I would say 90% of this game is not difficult. To me. From my experience, and I know we are going to get into this, 90% of this game is not difficult. There are 2 bosses every chapter that I've struggled on. And that is the midway point boss and the final boss. Outside of that, it has been a smooth cruise completely. Now, granted, when I get to those middle and final bosses, I'm there for hours. So, right, yeah. You know, it's like, okay, do you want a super fast, because this game is very fast paced, I will say. Like, it is not, and I'm just going to go and say, this is not a Souls game. I don't care what anyone says. It is not a Souls game. It takes elements from it, but in no way, shape, or form do I feel like this is a Souls game. That's I would compare it to more like Devil May Cry, personally. And I literally just replayed that game too.
Again, I would say, I keep saying like it's a slightly harder God of War.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Modern God of War, the modern God of War games.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're gonna get into it. But like, what I'm basically saying is the combat complements the journey well because you're having so much fun. It's not stress-inducing the whole time. Therefore, you're able to enjoy what's actually happening around you. But then when you get to that moment, it really is a test of, like, how much do you actually care about what's happening? How much do you actually are committing to this fight? Because when you beat that fight, it feels so good. It feels so good. And then after the final boss, after every chapter, they play this, like, super artistic animation in one.
Which those are really cool.
Those are really cool.
I've only seen one so far, but you say they just get more and more.
They get more and more, and like every time,
more intense, and yeah, I can only imagine. So.
After every chapter, they play a little video, and every time it's like a different art style. It's a different form of animation. Like the one after chapter 2 is like stop motion, and then the one after chapter 3 is like more cartoony, and then the one after chapter 4 is like straight up anime. So it's like every time it like changes like it. But yeah, then most of the time, the farther into it you go, those videos get really emotional, and the music behind it just really hits deep. Like I just beat chapter 5 right before doing this podcast. The video that played there really made me question if this game is a masterpiece. Because like it was just such a beautiful little thing. But yeah, so let's get talking about I'm gonna let you talk because I've been ranting. How do you feel about the combat? And I was watching you play this beforehand, and it was an experience. So how do you feel?
I mean, honestly, even if you actually just realistically look at my experience so far, we're sort of on the same line. Like apart from the one boss and then this side secret boss that I've had now. Like, everything's been a fairly decent breeze to me. Like, stage 1 of the final boss of chapter 1 when he's down in the cave. Like, one piece that when I finally faced him on the summit of the mountain, same thing. Like, I one-shotted him there. I just had a hard time with the midway boss. And then this extra boss, just because I'm going for loot, like, this boss is optional, the one that I'm struggling on right now. I just can't let it go because it's my, it's just my, I can win. I can win. I know I can do it, so I just can't let it go on the boss that I'm on now. But honestly, apart from some of the mobs in some of the areas, which I think are like a little spammy as far as like not having why can't I think of what it is right now? We're like after so far, like they'll stop chasing you. Why can't I think of what that barrier is called right now? There's a name for it in gaming. I can't think of what it is. But you get so far away, and eventually, they'll just turn around and like stop chasing you.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen so much in this one because most of the areas are sort of like cramped and just turned around corners with each other, at least in the first couple of chapters. So there's no getting away from them. They're going to keep chasing you. Yeah. You're only about 30 feet away from it in reality. So sometimes the enemies can be a little spammy, I think, for some of the mobs. But like if you get around them and just play the game properly, like the game is fun. with the combat. I think the only thing that sort of lets me down with the combat early on right now is some of the like continual spam on some of the attacks, because you'll be in like the middle of like light attacks, and because you're just in that natural motion where he's just going to keep flipping it, you don't really like proc to dodge, and you don't dodge it quick enough because maybe you're just spamming square like a little too much, so it doesn't seem like there's any like animation cancellation where it like dodges out of it. So I think maybe that's a little clunky, and that maybe either is like an intentional like mechanic to like force you to not spam the attack button so much. Maybe that's what it is, force a little patience out of you. Or
I think so.
It's just something that maybe needs a little refined in the game, and they actually do want to give you more of a window to dodge, because if you make the timing well enough to dodge out of it, you shouldn't be punished because you're mid attack. So maybe that's something they plan to fix in a patch. And then as far as the stances go, I think, and again, this is 100% also influence from Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The fact that there's really no difference in who like the stance as far as like you have to use it for this enemy. I think it would be kind of neat if there were different types of enemies that this stance just works better for. But if you like you really like the thrust one, you've just been in that one like continually the whole game.
Yeah.
But like if there were a reason to fight a particular ad or a particular side boss or something that needed you to use the pillar stance because of like of the environment, which I mean the game probably just has that if you just instinctively like strategically think about it, like, oh, because this one's in water, I need to wear this outfit and use this stance. Like you can, but the game's not obvious about it. And I don't, again, maybe that's just me being like a little whiny about it, but maybe because Ghost of Tsushima sort of force feeds that into you. Like you want to disarm this boss, you better use the stone stance.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. But in this one, if I just want a pillar stance all the way through the game, I can. If you just want a thrust stance through the whole game, you can.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really say that's a letdown. I just think that's kind of a mechanic that I'm surprised isn't there.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. What was that? I was about to say something. Oh yeah. I will say, so thrust stance is my favorite. That's one I've used majority of the time, but there have been moments where I've had to reassign all my skill points to a different stance because a certain stance worked better against a different boss. Like specifically the final bosses. The final boss of Chapter 4, I had to use the pillar the pillar stance.
Okay, see, and now that's just my naivety because I'm just not far enough into the game and haven't quite experienced it. That too.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to judge it too harshly. Just like right now, I haven't experienced so much of the need, even though I'm 5 hours into the game and I have 3 stances.
Well,
you know what I mean.
That's where my biggest criticism about the combat comes in. My biggest issue, I haven't had the whole dodge problem you have. Granted, I think I upgraded my dodge, so maybe I just don't remember struggling with that. But I haven't had issues with the dodge very much. My issue is, especially later on when you start getting to fight a bunch of bugs and wild creatures, the hitboxes are so stupid.
Yeah, because that secret boss, the golden baby guy,
yep.
like when he goes to suck in all of his mates to health life himself, you know what I mean? He gets up in the air and he orbs himself, and all of his servants like walk and like kneel at him, and he sucks them in and gets his health back. Like you can kill them before they get to him, but like if you're in the middle of this animation, you'll just go right through them. You'll just weasel your way in between them, and you won't hit them one bit. You know what I mean? Compose yourself.
I'm trying, bro. I can't. You really just went for it. Oh man. Oh my gosh. But like, so the final Chapter 4 boss, he's like, do you know what a Minotaur is? Like a half man, half horse?
Yeah.
He's like that, but instead of a horse, it's a centipede.
I was kind of watching you a little bit when you were streaming it.
Well, so the lock on thing locks on to like his chest, and at his chest is like where the morphing into the centipede happens, and he just has like a huge gap there, right? And so almost like 50% of the times when you use your like heavy attack that's like built up with all the focus, it just completely whiffs. Even though you're like right in his face, it just doesn't hit him because the hitbox just says no. And it's not, you can tell it's definitely like just a bad hitbox. It's not like that's just like that boss's like skill. It's right. Just the hitbox is so whack because when you do it, your character like teleports back a little bit, like it's like he gets pushed back, like he's hitting like an immovable wall. So you could definitely tell it's just the hitbox being a little whack, which does make that fight a little bit more annoying, rather than just a skill issue. Like it's just like that should have worked, but it didn't. Right. And then another thing is some bosses, and this is like a little bit, I wouldn't put this against the game. This is more a bias thing. There are some bosses that have really stupid like environmental gimmicks going on. Like the final boss of Chapter 2, I would say is the most annoyed and upset I've been throughout the whole game. The final chapter of Chapter 2. And it's because in the arena where you have that boss fight, there's like sandstorms going on. There's like sand tornadoes.
I had someone tell me about that today.
That like
was in complaining about that.
Yeah, and it like you're like doing a combo, and then all of a sudden a sand tornado unrelated to the boss will just screw you up, and then the boss hits you, and then boom, you're dead.
Right.
And that's like really annoying. Like when it's bosses, and like 95% of them are, when it's just bosses and their moveset, and you just have to figure out their moveset, I'm having a blast. Most of them are really easy, and I'm cruising through it. But then they start adding stupid sand tornadoes and stuff. I'm like, really? Like, really? But, yeah, I do think the stances are a really cool addition. I will say they get more important later on, just because you start upgrading, you start getting more focus points with that stuff. You start getting more just skill tree advancements with them. And then, yeah, there are some bosses that are very specific with that. Like that final Chapter 4 boss, the centipede guy, I had to switch to pillar stance because that attacked from above instead of front on. And that's where the weird morph was. And that's why it helped with that. But, yeah. It's crazy. How do you feel? Okay, because this is something I can easily say I understand why people don't like this, but I personally don't really have a problem with it. I actually kind of like it. There is only one combo in the whole game when it comes to your light attacks. It's like a 5-tap X button. Like you just have to click light attack 5 times and boom, that's the combo. And then you're able to mix that up with like some heavies and stuff. But for the most part, there's only that one core combo through the whole game.
Depending on the stance, you like heavy attack in between to do certain
I can get the criticism. I wish there was more variety with the light attacks.
Sure.
But I think for the type of game it is and what they're going for, the fact that you're able to layer things on top of it, I think the light combo is kind of like it's just like the base for the moveset. It's not all you can do. There are so many other things you can do with abilities, with spirits, with vessels, with dodging, with heavy attacks, focus points, and all that you're able to layer on top of that and have different combinations. But I do think that light combo is like the groundwork from it, and you could just build from there. But I can see where some people will say it does get a little bit repetitive. However, I'm 5 chapters in. I haven't gotten tired of it. Probably just because I keep on unlocking more things to keep adding to it. But how do you feel about that?
So, like about like specifically what you just
Yeah,
mentioned?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, I mean that just sort of depends.
Do you wish that there was more combos with like the light attacks?
I do, because I wish there were different based off your stance.
Okay, yes, yes, I agree with that.
It stays exactly the same no matter what stance you're in. It just varies it up in the heavy.
Yeah.
Or at least give me the option. Like when I unlock a stance, I unlock a different pattern of light attack with that stance, and if I want to use it or vary it up, like I want this light sort of attack with this stance, but I can also like mix it up and vary it, like I said, or assign a certain like different sort of light attack depending on the stance that I'm in. Like once I hit that combo, that doesn't just force me to only utilize, you know, the heavy in between, like actually give me something out of having to mix the heavy in there, because now, you know, it's that loft, you know, 360,
yeah.
like, you know, jump up in the air and like slam, which don't get me wrong, like is a sick looking move, but like if it integrated something into the stance, like, you know, if you know, if it was like a jump up, but like in the thrust stance, like you were thrust stance like in the air jumping, and then it was more of a push instead of a slam, and on the pillar stance, like, you know, like when you jumped up in the air, like maybe you pogoed yourself off your stick and it was like a whirly jump or something, like forward, something like, you know, just something to give it a little more variety based off the stance you're in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. Yeah. All right. Talked about enough about combat. Let's just go ahead and talk about a couple more things about the game, and then we'll move on. I know people probably get tired.
Regen.
Oh God.
Why? Hey, game science. Why is there no mana regen?
You know, I don't mind it.
I mind it so much. But, you know, I get it. You're supposed to be resourceful, 100%. And I again, get good, scrub. I 100% understand the aspect of it. But you're gonna tell me, like, you're not gonna give us a single mechanic. Because, like, you can use your focus points to get some health back, to not always use your gourd to regen. So that's nice.
There are upgrades later on. I didn't get them, but you have the choice of getting where when you use a focus point or when you use an ability, it gives you mana back.
Okay, see, and there's where my, you know, again, my lack of experience within the game comes into play, and then I want to formally apologize. But here's the deal. Don't force me to be at level 30 before I can mana regen.
Yeah.
Like, let me have that option a little quicker. I can turn my critique of a missing mechanic and then find out the mechanic's not missing into something else.
Actually,
if the mechanic is there, don't make me grind to level 30 before I can use it.
Actually, real quick, just as a funny example of how different we are in terms like where we are in the game, what level are you?
I think like 24.
Okay. I'm level 65 right now.
Right, yes.
Yeah, it's great. So, all right, real quick, visually, this game is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
It is absolutely stunning. This is one of the first Unreal Engine 5 games, and just games this generation, that has made me go, oh, this looks like kind of what we were promised heading into the new generation. Like, they did that like PS5 Unreal Engine 5 like tech demo little presentation with like a girl running in the sand and stuff like that. Like before the PS5 even came out. And everyone thought that looked incredible, but we haven't really gotten a game that kind of has that look to it until now. This is that game. Like, this is that game that delivered on the promise of this is what detail in Unreal Engine 5 can look like. This is what lighting can look like in Unreal Engine 5. And somehow they got it running at an acceptable rate. What I will say, the performance, there are a lot of frame drops in this game. And there are some visual glitches and technical glitches that I have come across throughout the game. all that will be patched, so I'm not gonna like discredit the game a whole bunch for that. That's always the thing I'm not too picky on, just because patches can always happen. But that is an issue with the game as it currently stands. But yeah, what's your opinion on the visuals?
I mean, I'm practically on par with you. I think everything so far that I've experienced in just the first couple of zones that I have, the sunset scene, whenever you're walking around the corner to go up to that final boss, whenever you go up to the big temple that's on fire at the summit of the mountain, whenever you first encounter your little guardian, little gnomey ratty guy that's got the little tendril root things like hanging off of him, like the detail on him like almost makes him uncomfortable too, like a little bit, because you don't really know what he's about. Why is he carrying a spoon or a back scratcher, whatever it is? Like this guy's crazy. And like that shot too, just simple things too. That first shot you get, like right whenever you get in there, whenever you're disguised as the peach, and just that detail of that little peach just sitting there and gets picked up, and then you take a bite of it, and boom, you're that person. I wish you could do that more. I wish you could disguise yourself as the peach more. That would be but yeah, no, it mixes a good combination of fantasy type stuff, and doesn't make it too disconnected from just how good visually the world looks as it is. The stones, the water, the trees, the environment, the sound, everything going along with it builds visually with the game, and it's just so well done. It's so well done. The character design built around the details, how annoyingly frustrating some of the mobs are, but like based off the area that you're in, how well designed they are to the area you're in with like the elements, and it's just a really cool like complement to it visually. So the game visually complements itself every second that you're playing it.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I forgot to mention when it comes to combat, and I know one thing you forgot to mention. There is some button inputs that are so stupid.
Oh, dude. That's in my notes. I have two more definite critiques in my notes.
Go ahead. Cook on it.
That was one of them. That was one of them. Yeah. Okay, so first one, I'm just going to say, because this one's easy. Does every single freaking boss have to have a ridiculous AoE attack? Do they all have to have an AoE attack? Every single one of them? So far, just about every one that I've encountered so far has some sort of AoE attack that just expands, and just no matter how far away you are, it's gonna get to you. Like it has some sort of just range of AoE. It's a very petty critique. That's a very personal critique. I just don't like all the AoE. I don't like it's again.
Honestly, now I think about it,
I would 100% understand. But there's
almost
so much
every boss
AoE.
does have AoE. Yeah.
There's so much AoE in this game, and I feel like it's maybe shoehorned a little bit more in, like just the boss would be like, all right, so interesting twist. Let's add an AoE attack. All right, hey, let's do it. But like they go ham. The AoEs are so threatening. Yeah. Like they all hurt so much. Like none of them are just like, man, I should have dodged that one. It's like, no, I needed to dodge that one. The AoEs are so severe. And then the button inputs. Hey, you know what's not a good idea? Making a mechanic of the game that's an attack when you're on the line of your low health, the boss is low health. Let's do this one shining moment. I'm gonna have this force attack where I become the big winding weight thing, and I decide, or wandering white, and that's what's called wandering white. I'm gonna come that, and I'm gonna slam my head down on this enemy, and I'm gonna finish his little health bar. But the mechanics you have to do to hit this thing are the buttons that pull up your quick menu. Why did you put a mechanic in the game where you have to do your quick menu? Because for one, the PS5 has these little DualSense triggers that have kickback on it. So here you are trying to slam L2 and R2 down at the same time. the whole time you're just bam, bam. Here's your stances and your spells. Your stances and your spells. Just do the attack. Just do it. And it costs you timing because your person's just sitting there like not doing anything. And it's just, man, it's like that's just like, you know, like put that attack in the quick menu.
That's it. This Peter just typed in the chat something really funny. That's right.
Boss AoE is Okay, what? Hang on. What is it? Boss AoE is equivalent to after you've missed the fly with the fly swatter for the 5th time, so you try something wild. Hey, that's fair. That's a fair comparison. That's a fair comparison.
I do agree with you.
Just that mechanic of using that little special skill, because that skill could be so clutch in a moment, and for it to be such a clunky mechanic. Because obviously I'm hitting the button. If I wasn't hitting the button, the menu wouldn't be coming up and flashing.
Yeah.
So obviously the button input's happening. It's just not.
Yep, I feel you.
Yeah, that's more fine timing than the dodge is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. That is a really stupid
That's probably my most passionate button input thing, is that one. Sorry to yell.
No, you're good.
Sheesh.
Hey, we like it.
Oof.
Music in this game is really, really good.
It's so good.
It really, really is.
The Guardian singing to you. In
dude,
Chapter 2.
I love it. I love it.
The second I went from Chapter 1 to Chapter 2, and he started singing, and you have to like read because he's singing in a foreign language.
Yeah.
So
Without
you
a
have
head.
to read. You have to read what he's singing. Without a head, he's got no head. So there's no mouth singing. He's just this big lanky looking thing that looks like it belongs in Mortal Kombat, playing this little 3-string guitar thing, just wailing. Has like a Scottish accent or Irish accent or something, some sort of accent from over that way, and just wails these absolutely gorgeous songs. But he's just telling the story of what you need to do. He's just giving you directions, but it makes you meticulously sit there and read, but you have to sit there and read and then appreciate the sound at the same time. I just want to listen to you sing, but I got to pay attention.
Yeah. I will say
it's so beautiful.
The animations in between the chapters, the one for chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all, oh my god, those songs are, they hit you.
I can't wait.
They hit you. There's like choirs and everything going on there.
I can't wait.
It's awesome. Yeah, I think that is about one thing I forgot to mention with the combat or just gameplay in general. And this might be one of my biggest compliments about the game because, and yeah, this is one of the things, back to what I said earlier, there are some things about this game that I genuinely think are the best in any game ever of all time. And this is one of them. The enemy variety is insane. Insane. I'm done with chapter 5, and I've probably faced about 75 bosses at this point. I have not had one boss that has been anything close to any of the other bosses.
Yeah, all with some sort of.
All of them are unique. All of them are unique, different movesets, different look. Not any one of them are like straight up reused assets. Like, okay, granted, the Wandering White and then the Gold Baby, yeah, those are a little similar, but like
King Jinchi or
yeah, there are some that are like the same species or whatnot, but they all do completely different things. And even just the like pawns, the little enemies in every chapter, all those pawns are completely different. And even just as you progress through the chapter, they keep adding more and more. Like there has never not been once where enemy variety was not always changing or completely different. Like
we never liked the archers though.
Oh my gosh, I hate the rangers.
Cut it out.
The ranged
Cut it out
attackers.
with the archers.
Oh my gosh.
Cut it out. There's so many.
Yes, I hate them. But yeah, the enemy variety is just unbelievable. Like
it is, yeah.
Like I could imagine that they spent 4 years just making all the different enemies. Like it's so much. And then some of these bosses moveset, just like a random boss, just like a random like, oops, I accidentally wandered into this area with a boss, has the most insane moveset. that's completely different. Like, it's like how much effort did you put into all these bosses? It's crazy. Which, by the way, this game is essentially a boss rush game, in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah.
It's just boss after boss after boss for the most part, which I absolutely love. I love that. But yeah, I think that's about it. I am going to do a full-on review video when I'm done with the game, giving it my final score and everything, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. But I think we pretty much covered everything we need to talk about. Is there anything else final that you want to add?
I don't think so particularly. I mean, there's obviously a couple more things that we could probably get into as far as like the nitty gritty of it. Sort of the gameplay mechanics with like some of the tools that you buy, as far as like the gourds for like the poison resistance and using them for like the damage resistance ones that you get, and how you could like easily like miss out on things was kind of an interesting experience too, a little bit like that we noticed yesterday, that particular cloth that I picked up from that one body that was hanging.
Oh yeah.
That gave you like the fire resistance, which I didn't even end up using it for the mechanic because it was supposed to be built for like the final summit boss.
Yeah.
Because of like the fire attacks like that he does, and like you can get one of those in each of those, but like it's also completely possible to miss it. And the fact that you couldn't go back and get it when you saw that I got it was a pretty interesting like take on it. Like, now that you're past it, like, even like there's no need.
Yes.
The fact that you can't even go, because like you can't even fight that boss either. So like you have to do a whole nother playthrough to even like get that secret boss.
So the final boss of Chapter 4, when you get his health down to like the final quarter of his health, he like enters kind of like a second phase where your stamina bar gets cut in half.
Oh, awesome.
All his attack power gets like tripled, so you pretty much get one shot by everything. You can't immobilize him. And there's tons of AoEs. His attacks are super fast, so it's pretty much impossible. And that's why I spent, I kid you not, 6 hours on that boss in total. Until I realized that there is a side quest that you can do to defeat a secret boss, which is super hard boss, by the way. It's a very hard boss as well. It's the one the trailer, the very first trailer, where you're in like a super red area, like the whole sky is red. There's like a red moon and everything. It's like this like devil raven type thing. It's that boss, but when you beat him, you get a vessel, is what they're called. And you can use that vessel to take him out of that second phase state immediately. And so none of those buffs or debuffs that I just talked about happen.
So it just makes you fight him.
It just
the rest of him phase
as
one again.
Yeah, as normal. And so as soon as I did that, I second tried it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, if you don't want to spend 6 hours on that boss, go ahead and do that. Yeah. That was the most insane thing. But I credit it and discredit. Like, if you're somebody who just absolutely... It's one thing to just not do side quests, but if you specifically try avoiding side quests, then you are going to... You're going to hate this.
One heck of a time, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good and bad thing. It's a bad thing because of that reason, but it's a good thing because it makes you explore. It makes the side quests actually worth it. And like genuinely, it changed the whole game. Like doing that side quest. Like I probably would have been. I would probably still be on that boss fight if it wasn't for that side quest. But yeah. And then
You can't even look it up.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. No.
Had to.
Yeah. There was
Had
no
to.
way. There's no way.
Had to.
Man, I got Star Wars Outlaws coming out here in a couple days. I can't still be stuck on that game. Yeah.
Work, yeah.
But like back to what you were saying with all the tools, I love how many different vendors and stuff there are to permanently upgrade your heals, to upgrade your. Which, by the way, you'll find a vendor in chapter 2 where you can then permanently upgrade your health and mana and stamina.
Yeah, I read that on that thing that you sent me last night. Actually, yeah.
And so I love how many just did different things you're able to like. You were constantly upgrading throughout the whole game. They actually make currencies super useful in the game. Upgrading armor, crafting weapons, very important. Like, all the systems in this game feel like they're there for a genuine reason, not just to make it seem chunkier. And I absolutely love that. So yeah, all the tools, like you were saying, are very, very good.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that's about it. We're not gonna spend any more time talking about Black Myth Wukong. We do have a couple more things to talk about. We're just gonna real quickly scan through Gamescom, do a little recap. But then we have a fun little segment that we're going to talk about at the end here, which I think will be a really fun conversation. But yeah, just a Gamescom review. Gamescom did happen this week. A bunch of games were revealed. I personally really enjoyed the show. I'm at like a 7 out of 10 on the show. I thought there were a lot of great games. I went through the list because I'm currently doing a Gamescom recap video, planning that out. And I just went through a list and just all the notable games. And there were generally a lot. It is a 2-hour show, though, and, you know, it did drag on a little bit. It's not, like, the most exciting show, but at the end of the day, I like games, not shows. So when I look at the games, there were a lot of games I were interested in, and I personally enjoyed it, and I was really happy with a lot of games. I'm excited for a lot of the games. Some of those include Borderlands 4, Mafia: The Old Country, or Old County? Old County or Country, I think. The Old Country. They showed Indiana Jones again with a release date for December 6th, I do believe, or December 9th, one of the two. But then they also announced that it will be coming to PlayStation 5 in spring of next year. That's a whole video for you. There's this one game I actually genuinely might be one of my favorite announcements of the whole show, and it's a smaller game. It's called Reanimal. It's a game by the original studio of the Little Nightmares games. That game, I rewatched it, and I genuinely think that game looks incredible. It's a smaller, kind of indie-esque game, but it's not indie. I don't believe. It looks really, really good. And then Little Nightmares 3 was also there, by the way. I genuinely, which is really weird, I think that other game, Reanimal, the one from the original creators of the game, I thought looked better, personally. But Little Nightmares 3 also still looked really good. There was Goat Simulator Remastered, if you're into that. There was Monster Hunter Wilds getting another showing, continues to look awesome.
The game was really good.
Yeah. And there was just a bunch of other things. Like I said, if you guys want a more in-depth recap, make sure you go check out my Gamescom recap video coming out next week, or just in the next couple days. Do you have any thoughts on Gamescom? Any games that stuck out to you or anything?
A couple personal things about some of the games. I 100% get the point of it that, you know, people want big major titles on these platforms, but an Arkham game after all this time on Quest 3 is quite the shell shock, I think. You know, that being like that's a huge game to start with for like not really having much to back it up for a $600 system. Yeah. So, you know, I think I think that's huge news. Obviously, that's, you know, that Gamescom wasn't, but there was a little bit more revealed for some of the gameplay. Although it does look fun and good, it's still one of those things that's just like sort of shocking to see. I think Avowed also looked kind of good. Some of the stuff from watching Avowed looked pretty cool. I'm interested to maybe see what the expansion on the new Starfield DLC is probably going to be like.
That also got released date, September 30th.
Yeah, even though I didn't, again, I didn't play Starfield. I know it after a couple of updates, you know, a lot of people still really like it and think it's good. So seeing a DLC for it should be good. Yeah, that was probably my takeaway. We already talked about Indiana Jones. And then just, you know, a couple more trailers. Dying Light.
Oh, that's how did I miss that? Wow, I completely missed that.
Dying Light is an interesting one. Seeing the new one, which is going to bring back Kyle Crane. I think that's cool. I didn't play, what was it, the Following or whatever, the one that just came out.
Dying Light 2, Stay Human. Stay Human.
Yeah, Stay Human. That was I didn't play that one so much. I watched some of it, played, and I you know, some of I know it was a bit of a bump on release, but you know, maybe there's a little more to it. I just didn't pay much.
Man, I am such an L Literally, Dying Light 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. And Dying Light 2, or Dying
I
Light.
like the first one.
Oh, I love the first one as well.
I really liked the first one.
Dying Light: The Beast was actually my favorite announcement of the whole show, and I completely forgot to mention it. I'm such an L.
Yeah.
But yeah, that absolutely looks phenomenal
good.
as well. But yeah, if you guys want to go watch the show, you can. But then otherwise, you can check out my recap later on. But yeah, we're just gonna skim through that, just because podcast is getting a little bit long. But I do want to have a nice chunky conversation about this next topic because I think this is really fun.
Okay.
So, I work at Costco, and
Sure.
I work in the morning, 5-hour shifts in the morning in the freezer, and so it's a lot of me and my brain time, right?
Yeah.
Just me thinking I'm listening to music or I'm listening to podcasts about games, and
Sure.
I think it was about like a couple of weeks ago, I started thinking about some upcoming games that I would want. And I was listening to a podcast talking about some of the best games to come out this generation, and they were going by like number ratings. They were like, let's take a look at some like games that we'd consider like 8 out of 10s throughout this generation. Let's take a look at some of the games that were bad, right? They got to the 9 out of 10 section, right? And they started mentioning games like Jedi Survivor, like Forbidden West, right? And then it clicked with me because we're at a really interesting time in gaming where there have been so many new franchises and storylines started within the last generation. Mm-hmm. We got Horizon Zero Dawn, we got Horizon Forbidden West, we got Star Wars Fallen Order, we got Jedi Survivor, we got Final Fantasy VII Remake, we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we got Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, we got I'm trying to think of some other one, we got Psychonauts 2, we got I'm trying to think of stuff off the top of my head. That's what this topic is.
I mean, if
we're
if
at
you
the
want to
point.
classify it, I mean, God of War 2018 and then Ragnarok.
True,
too,
although
sort of
they kind
vibe.
of concluded that whole
Well, yeah,
story
but so
with Ragnarok.
yeah, but I mean, so do all the all the Final Fantasy like 7 tie-in lores and movies and stuff too. So
True. But basically, my point being, we are at a point in time where now we are going to start getting that end of the trilogy games for a lot of different series and franchises. And I think for me, where it clicked with me, why I wanted to have this conversation is I absolutely love Jedi Survivor and Horizon Forbidden West, but I do agree with them. They are like 9 out of 10 games. I still feel like there's something missing, and it doesn't quite reach that masterpiece material. But when I look at like where a lot of the games ended off, specifically Forbidden West and Jedi Survivor, where I look at like where those games ended off and what they're leading us towards, it's super exciting, and it's almost like if they could just do it right, that is easily masterpiece material. And so I think that's really exciting to look at. Like, we're at that point where we could start getting those conclusions to these trilogies, and they're going to be so epic, so exciting because of where the story's headed and some of the gameplay and technology that we're evolving to. So I just thought it'd be exciting to take a look at some upcoming third entries in trilogies, or just come up with some third entries in trilogies and just talk about it and get excited for possibilities. I already mentioned a couple of them. I know one of them you're definitely excited for, being Final Fantasy VII. So just right off the bat, do any third entries of any trilogies pop out at you that you want to? You could even repeat some of mine.
I'm gonna because even just hearing you talk about it is getting me so hyped.
I know, right?
I could not be more ready for more Horizon.
Yeah.
I know Horizon gets sort of like a bad rap sometimes from like a certain crowd of people who just don't like how much the game is, how there's a little bit too much to do, there's so much to read, there's so many like audio logs, and there's so much little hidden nooks and crannies, and there's this tool and there's that tool, and you can do this option, or you can do. I love it. I love the fact that I can drown 200 hours into that game and still feel like you didn't experience it fully. I love the characters in it. I love the emotions of it. The music in it is absolutely gorgeous. I can sit on the menu screen and listen to
As a
for hours. I have. There have been times I'm just sitting there like scrolling Twitter.
Yes,
like,
Peter.
You know, and I just you know, I quit out of the game, or you know, I've backed out of it, and like the menu music is just playing. Like on the opening screen of the PS5, I'm just listening to the preview music while scrolling through Twitter, because it's just so gorgeous. The atmosphere is great. It's like subtle things like the different outfits that you can do that like alter your different kind of like skills and stuff too. It provides so much for me, and the fact that they added a little bit, you know, more of a human aspect to Aloy's like story side of it, by like adding the hardship of like the relationships and like what the first game did with her losing who she lost, and you know who she become through it, and the people that she like grew to know in this one, and the experiences that she had. And I'm really stoked to see where it is, because the second one was the first one on steroids. It's exactly what I wanted a sequel to be. Forbidden West is exactly the follow-up, in my opinion, that Zero Dawn needed. So I really feel like Guerrilla's going to bring it, and whatever the third one's going to be called is going to be so good, and I cannot wait. I'm really curious where they're going to like actually go with it. Like,
well,
really
so that's what's interesting. Like, and I think Horizon is probably at the top of my list for like why I wanted to do this conversation, because to me it's the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Where like. Yeah. Where Horizon Forbidden West ended off, like when you play Horizon 1, you're like, oh man, this story is awesome. The thing that's going on with the world is really cool. I can't wait to see where it goes now. Forbidden West, just more of that, but the ending of Forbidden West, it really tells you, it's like, oh, it's about to go down.
Yeah,
like
it's like
so
you think you've done something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, like
wait. Wait.
It pretty much teases like, oh no, you thought you were going through crazy stuff now. A war is about to happen. Like it is about to up the stakes by 20-fold. And that's like exactly like what I'm talking about. Like if you just again evolve on the gameplay, evolve on everything you've been doing, but now we're getting that epic conclusion. We are going to reach that insane height that everything has been building towards, and now it is time. This third entry, that is going to be the entry. Like that entry is what it's all about. And I think that is that is a prime example of what I'm talking about when it comes to this topic. Like I remember when finishing Forbidden West, I was so not worried about what I felt about Forbidden West. I was like, oh, I cannot wait for the third one. But yeah, I mean,
I'm really nervous to see what they're gonna do to replace Lance Reddick as Sylens.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be very. So
I'm curious what direction they're gonna take with that. I wonder if they're gonna do a new VA, or if they're gonna maybe try to write him off completely. Or, I mean, you know, Guerrilla might be a little bit more advanced, and maybe they'll use AI for his lines if they get permission to his voice.
Yeah, we'll see.
Make him like a hologram or something. Well, I mean, I guess he wouldn't have to do a hologram for it. I mean, you could AI Lance Reddick's voice from the first 2 games alone, and probably get all the words and dialogue that you need, apart from some of the words of the people and races or stuff that they might make up from the third to the second game. So that might be a little difficult, but
yeah.
You know, R.I.P. Lance Reddick.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Such a tragic loss.
Same thing goes for Jedi Fallen Order 2. The ending of that really set up like, oh, things are about to start getting crazier than they've already been. Like he just tapped into the dark side for the first time. He's now basically starting his own resistance at this point. He's now gonna try to rebuild the Jedi Order or some stuff. Like they really set up like, oh, so where we're headed is what we've been building towards now.
Yep.
Like for these past 2 games, which again is just going to lead to that epic conclusion that we've all been waiting for. As long as they could just keep making the game better and deliver and execute on what the third should be,
yep,
it will easily be the best one in the franchise.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I easily think Survivor's better than Fallen Order.
Yes, 100%.
So yeah, it definitely made the improvements from the second one to the first one, because the first one I played most of, watched a playthrough of a couple different people just to see to beat it, because it kind of dragged me out like a little bit part of the way through it. Yep. I could not put Survivor down.
Yes, I agree. I'm right there with you.
I did. It was about an 85-hour playthrough for me, and I still didn't do everything. I didn't do all of the bounty missions to completely do the Jango Fett part, or Boba Fett, whichever one it is. I forget. Sorry to offend the Star Wars people. But I didn't even complete all that to get that full thing. But I did a lot of the extra stuff, and like hunted for a lot of the extra gear and the physical aesthetic changes you get, like the haircuts and the beards and the different colored ponchos and stuff that you can do. And then like to connect all that with how emotional that they made the story, like you said, with him really like tapping into the dark side and like reconnecting with his old crew again compared to where he was before from the first game. And just like how emotional all those reunions are throughout the entire game was just so well done. And I need to go through and read the book, actually, the one they wrote between the first game and the second one. I've heard it's actually a pretty good read. Yeah,
for sure. I second everything you just said. I do think, I would say Jedi Survivor has more of a hill to climb than Horizon in terms of delivering on the third installment.
I think Guerrilla's going to knock Horizon out of the park because of how good Forbidden West was.
Yeah, I genuinely think the third Horizon is going to finally, it's going to be that masterpiece material. I'm very confident.
I feel like the third installment, if it's as good as I feel like it can be, I feel like the third installment might crack into like my top 5 games ever. That's how much I love that franchise. Right. So.
Yeah, for sure. And then let's just go ahead and talk about it because we brought it up already. FF7, it's gonna get its third one eventually. And there were actually reports from the director and everything recently that said it is going, he's confident it is going to be one of the greatest games of all time. Mm-hmm. Which I love the confidence. And honestly, I can't doubt you. I really can't. I can't say you're like reaching for the stars, because you're honestly not. FF7 is already considered one of the greatest games of all time. And if
I know there's a very tight knit community of people that also love 8 and 9 and 10, and trust me, I respect people, and they have those places. They all deserve the kind of love that 7's getting.
Yes.
I'm on. Let's see it with all of them.
I also love 9.
I have fallen in love with the lore of 7 because of what they've done now.
Yes.
And I went back and I've played the original 7 because of what Remake has done. I've gone through and beat Remake a couple of different times. I went through and played Crisis Core because of it, to learn the lore. We went out of our way to go see Advent Children whenever they put that in theaters. I've watched so many of the OG FF7 in a nutshell videos to go through and learn the things of it, but I never would have done that without the remake.
Yeah, agreed.
Originally happening in 2020.
Agreed.
And I think if they can show that kind of love to all the other ones too, they 100% deserve it. But so what this game's done for me, it's cracked into one of my favorite franchises of all time, simply because of how good the story is and how good the differences they've done with the timeline thing, dude. It geeks me. And maybe it's because I'm not an OG fan. I love the differences. I love the changes. I want to see them make the game something that's exactly the same but completely different in so many ways. and
Yeah.
they're doing such a good job with that with these first 2 titles so far. And I words can't describe how truly thrilled I am to see what this third installment's going to be.
So I have a question for you, just because I'm curious. And
Okay.
by the way, I am perfectly okay with the answer of I love them both. Because I fully support that. Do you have a preference with whether you like remake or rebirth better?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I do. I think I like Rebirth more.
Okay, very solid.
I think I like Rebirth more. But they sit differently because they are different gameplay styles.
Yeah,
Gameplay,
true.
you know, the first one basically plays like, you know, like Yakuza games play. You know, the combat is the only thing that really, like, you know, it takes it away from sort of what the game is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one being like the open world, the combat within that, the amount of mini games and like stories that they dwell like within the mini games. Like if you avoid, like, you know, Queen's Blood, the card game in the game, you miss out on such an interesting narrative about the backstory of like the creation of the game. But that's your prerogative. You don't want to play it, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they brought it differently because they had to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
I will say for me now, granted, I have not finished Rebirth. I don't even think I'm like, I might not even be a quarter of the way through, to be honest with you.
yeah.
From where I'm at right now, I do still prefer remake.
That's fair.
But at the end of the day, I am more of a linear fan than I am an open world fan, so that is definitely a factor there. Granted, though, my favorite game of all time is open world, so I'm not like saying just because of that fact I like it more, but like that definitely does play a factor. But Rebirth is one of those games I do want to finish, and honestly, I can't really talk about the third part yet because I don't feel like I can because I haven't finished the second one yet. But I'm excited for the third one. The big conclusion.
It'll have its place one day.
It'll have its place. We'll
come back and talk about it again one day.
Yes, for sure. We could always talk about FF7. Can always do it.
The Last of Us 3.
I knew you were gonna say it. I was like, I knew it. Okay, well, yeah. So now let's move into the next segment. What are some games that we would like to see a third part to, a third entry? And honestly, even though it was just a joke, I was gonna mention The Last of Us because at the end of the day, look, me and Jordan have a running joke, as I do with almost everybody who knows me. I do not like Last of Us Part 2.
His favorite game of all time. It's his favorite game of all time. He loves it so much.
Shut it. You need to shut it.
He plays it while he's at his family's Italian
No. Oh my. Yeah, this thing. Yeah, here we go. But I love Last of Us Part 1. I think Part 1 is absolutely amazing.
They're both so good.
And while I did not like Last of Us Part 2's story, I can't deny its visuals and its gameplay and music and all that is really, really good.
Even as a PS4 original, from the jump, the visual aspect of that game for being, because I believe that was the last PS4 exclusive, like solely PS4 exclusive was The Last of Us 2. So,
for sure. I would just, even though I didn't like 2, that doesn't mean the third one can't be good. Like, just because I didn't like the second one doesn't mean I'm automatically not gonna like the third one. So,
and if you beat 2 and like know what happens at like the end of it, to not be curious as to where they're going with 3 it would be stupid.
Yeah,
because the heartbreak that is just because the obviously the end, you know, the end with it being violent, you know, it being a very violent ending. The second one, though violent, the actual end before the credits is nothing but emotional and sadness.
Yeah.
Right. So like to not know how Ellie's gonna be state of mind wise for that next installment, that's something I'm really curious to see where she's gonna be in her headspace.
Yeah. So even though I didn't like 2, I would be very excited for a third one. I would be looking forward to it, and I'm very curious where that would go. So that is definitely one. Another one
Mega Man Legends 3.
What did he just say?
Mega Man Legends 3.
All right.
That's the third installment that I want. We don't have to pry on it. If anybody's interested in the Mega Man Legends series, look them up.
I mean, I love Mega Man. Like, are you being serious here, or is that like a joke?
No, 100%. Did you play the Mega Man Legends games?
No.
Okay, Mega Man Legends and Mega Man Legends 2 were
I gotta look
like
this up.
a bit of a different take on the Mega Man series. I highly recommend you look them up. They were original PlayStation games. The third one was being made and it was scrapped.
What is it? Is it like a 3D game? Is it 3D or is it?
Yeah.
It's a third-person game.
It is. Yep.
What?
The Legends 3 was originally set to come out on the 3DS, and then they scrapped it.
Wow. How did I never know about this?
I don't know.
I always thought
but
Mega Man was just 2D. That is
the side scroll. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's a whole new world of Mega Man where they give him a story and a love interest. And yeah, dude, it's good. I highly recommend if you get like a ROM or something or a way to play original PlayStation games, you check out the.
I mean, I have an OG PlayStation. Like, I literally have them.
Yeah, well, I mean, good luck finding the games. They're
Yeah,
so
right,
hard to find.
right. That is. Crazy.
I mean, I don't know. You might be able to find it, but yeah, if you ever get a chance, though, I recommend.
That is
checking those out.
awesome. Wow, I did not know that. That's cool. I learned something new. I mean, yeah, I'd love to see a third one then. That'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
One that I know for sure that came in my head is Psychonauts 3. I know Psychonauts 2 came out 2021 when the original came out in like the 2000s. And we finally got the second one after so long. I would be super excited for the third one, finish off that trilogy, especially since Psychonauts 2 was so good. The big one for me, and this is easily my number one, which, I mean, no one's going to be surprised. I mean, it's me we're talking about. Alan Wake 3, especially where it left off and what the DLC did. I just can't wait to see where this story goes. Like, I genuinely can't wait. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to get it for a little while just because they're working on other games.
It's going to be a hot minute.
Yeah,
probably
working on the Max Payne remakes, and they're working on the Control games, working on a multiplayer Control game. And then who knows what they'll do after that. Probably on Wake 3 next, but it'll be a while. But I'm ready for it whenever it happens, and that'll be really, really exciting. Any other third entries you got?
Red Dead 3.
Oh, that's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, I know technically if you want to count Revolver and then Redemption 2, technically it's 3, but like if we're just going like purely off the Redemption timeline and like where we're at there, because I'm curious where they would go with 3. Like, would they try to go with would they prequel everything, or would this actually be like set like after? Like, is it going to be just Jack's story now? Like, I don't really know where they're going to go with Jack. But, you know, are they going to tell, like, I don't know, maybe like an older story and, you know, like still, like, you know, have Dutch in it all over again? And, you know, it's like them in their younger days where, like, the game's intention is to be more evil. Because, like, in this one, you know, in Red Dead 2 with, like, Arthur's sickness and what happens, like, you even playing as an evil character, when you come to the pinnacle of his inevitable ending, like playing as an evil character, like you see the negative effects that you get for it. So it's like it's so much more of a, I think, intentional experience when designed to want to play it as a pure aspect, just because of how much more like beautiful the, like, you know, positively morale gameplay is, with like the deer scenes and the sunset and the things that, like, if you 100% the game, the things that John Marston has to say about Arthur, like at his grave, or is different based off of it. So it's like, you know, maybe if they take the third one in the direction of like a prequel to the prequel, like, you know, this game is meant to like raise hell and get as much money as you can, and, you know, maybe they'll open up the ass, because, you know, in the Red Dead thing, you'd never been able to be like, you know, risque with, like, you know, like call girls or anything like that. Like maybe they'll give it like a bit more of an edge, and like make you like a real miscreant, or maybe they'll go like a more peaceful thing, and it's really just Jack getting his revenge, or maybe Jack turns into some tyrannical thing, and maybe your goal is to just tear it up as Jack now. Let's just go buck wild. Or are they just gonna do a Red Dead Revolver remake and completely get away from the story?
Only time will tell.
We're gonna find out. But I'm really.
It'll be a while though.
Where they would go with a Red Dead 3 if they continue with the redemption storyline.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do with a third one?
It'll be a while though. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I know. Yeah, because GTA 6 is just done. Yeah. So, and not even.
Yeah, not even. One that I just thought about. Actually, I came up with a couple that are like pipe dreams, but like I would love to see it. Number 1, Titanfall 3. Okay. We literally reached like Titanfall just became the big thing in town when Titanfall 2 released, and then they just let it die. We never got a third one, which is such a sin. Titanfall 2 is my favorite first-person shooter of all time, so please give me Titanfall 3. Another one I thought of is Injustice 3. We've yet to get through. We thought we were going to get it within the last couple of years, but they ended up going with Mortal Kombat 1 instead of Injustice 3, which ended up being the wrong decision. I would love to see that, continue that story. One that I want to throw out there, I know you're probably me like, I could care less about this game.
Portal?
No. Well, that needs a third entry too. So does Half-Life. Half-Life also needs a third one. Valve needs to learn to count to 3, I swear to God.
Let's go. Yeah.
Mario plus Rabbids. I want a third one of that. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is my 4th favorite game of all time. So I would love for them just to expand on that more. I don't know. Any other ones you could think of, like off the top of your head, like that we need third entries for?
I was trying to sort of think of any. I feel like a lot of the ones I've already sort of come to fruition on. I want a better Skate 3. Does that count?
Wow. It's a hot take right there. It's a hot take.
Dragon's Dogma 3. Let's see where they go with that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
That might be fun.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
What I will say.
See where they expand on it.
See, now here's interesting. Are there any games that could get a third entry that we think could end up being worse or go in the wrong direction? I have one, which I don't like saying it because personally, I think the second game, even though I do think is worse, it gets a really bad rap just because it's worse. Spider-Man.
I wouldn't say Spider-Man 2 is worse. Spider-Man 2 just lacks it. Like the gameplay is better.
True.
As far as like the combat. Visually, it looks better. Okay? Customize wise with unlocking the different color outfits. That's just fun. Again, not something that not everybody cares about, but someone like me, I love being able to change into 700 different costumes and suits. Like I like making Peter look like Miles and making Miles look like Peter in the cutscenes. Like that's just fun. You know what I mean? Like it's silly, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's just I shouldn't have been able to platinum that game in 25 hours.
Yeah, that's a good point. So my whole thing of it being worse, I agree with you. Everything except the story is better. But
yeah, the story of one is a little better than 2.
But that is also a thing though. I don't think a story being worse than your predecessor is not really a great look. Because at the end of the day, that is the direction you go.
If we kind of want to be real talk, I think the Miles Morales story is still even a little better than Spider-Man 2 story.
Oh, yeah. Well, 100%. No, I easily think...
Miles Morales deserves to be a 50-hour game. It deserves 20 more hours.
Yes, absolutely.
100%. That's if
Yeah.
they don't do Spider-Man 3 as the follow-up, I want to see another Miles game. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Which I know they said Miles is kind of the direction with Spider-Man, but I think they'll still bring Peter back for the third game. I just think maybe they'll give Miles his own true Miles game this time around if they decide to go that way.
So here's where I think they're going with Spider-Man 3. I think Miles Morales is going to be the prime Spider-Man. Like, he is going to be the Spider-Man. Peter's going to be that, like, veteran that...
Peter's going to be late game.
Yes, late game where, like, Miles is like, we can't do this alone. And I refer to we because there's going to be Webb now, which is that girl that they teased at the end of 2. And she's going to be...
Which makes me wonder how long they're going to space it between, because she was a little girl.
Right.
So...
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think we're gonna Spider-Man 3 is gonna take place in prime Miles era.
Yeah, like, are they gonna like make him go after college? Like, is it gonna be that deep?
Yeah,
or, like, he's gonna be out of college now because like they jumped, obviously from the first game, Peter's already out of college and working for Doc.
Yeah.
So he's already got his degree and everything. So like to make her a character. Like, how far, like, are they going to make it a young, like a young teenage little girl, or are they going to make her like a, 17, 18-year-old thing like they did with Miles?
True. But I do think they're going to take the approach where, like, now he's mentoring her.
Yeah.
And then...
And I think that could be a cool direction.
It could be. I really do think... But at the end of the day, if a sequel had a worse story, you can't help but to at least be a little cautious.
Sure.
Whereas, like, comparing it to, like, Horizon, like, I almost can't see how the story somehow gets worse because they've set it perfectly up. They've set it so perfectly up. They just have to
I need to look more into the individual writers, but, like, I have so much respect for whoever's world building and story writing the Horizon lore.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's like, I get it can be like a little wordy and like a lot to take in because of how much history there is behind the story. But like, even if you just look at it like plainly, like and simply, like it's done so well.
Yeah.
And they missed the mark a little bit. And I think an expanded story of 2, if they would have made 2 bigger, like I said, just expand on a little bit more, make it a little bit more personal, like. The Venom part was a little rushed.
Well, that's supposed to be the next game is a standalone Venom game.
But like, don't tease us with Venom. He's he was the $300 statue that you got for ordering the game.
He was all 9 inches, bro.
And he's in the game for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, which mind you, there's like cut scenes and there's the part and there's the the dramatic Kraven moment and everything. Like like his parts are epic.
Hot take. It should have just been Kraven. I think Kraven should have just been the main villain throughout the whole game.
Yeah, because Kraven, I enjoyed the Kraven aspect more than I enjoyed the Venom
100%.
aspect. As far as like, not that I didn't enjoy the Venom. I think that was a nice part of it, but Kraven could have been more, and I think that's where they should have done with it. I honestly, like, Venom should have been extremely. They shouldn't have hinted so much at Venom as far as him being like a highlight of promoting the game. The game was gonna sell. The success of the first one, the success of Miles Morales, the second installment of the game was going to sell. They didn't need to push Venom so much.
See,
they should have pushed it on Miles, Peter, and Kraven. They should have made Venom a teaser near the end of the game for something like they did with the side story with Carnage. Mm-hmm. Because if you complete the Flame side story, you get the Carnage Easter egg, where you definitely know he's coming into play. Yep. But is that Carnage going to be in the Venom game, or is Carnage going to be in the Spider-Man game?
I could definitely see him being the enemy in Venom. But no, I completely agree with you. The way Horizon ended, it completely set up the third one to be the most exciting and best game in the whole franchise. Whereas the way they ended with Spider-Man 2, they were saying, oh, hey, there's just this girl who I guess is also going to be a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
All right, where are we exactly going now is the question. It's just nowhere near the same, like, end takeaway as like Horizon or Jedi. Now, Grant, I could spend a whole whole podcast diving into how I feel about Spider-Man 2 because at the end of the day,
I could too.
I do think the game gets a bad rap just because it has.
Like, don't get me wrong, I still thoroughly enjoyed it. All 26 hours I played of it were thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like, do not get me wrong.
Yeah.
It just, it just lacked a little bit more context and just, a little bit more firepower behind some of the things that were already in the game.
I post a lot of tweets talking about just stating like some of my takes, and like sometimes I get annoyed at people because for a lot of games it's like a competition to a lot of people. Like, just because this game's better, I have to only say negative things about the other games I think is worse or whatnot. Where it's like, I get majority of people like Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales better, but like Spider-Man 2 has a lot of great things about it. Like,
it really does.
Like, why are we never talking about that?
So, and going back to even the hot topic today, Black Myth Wukong, right? Okay.
Yeah.
The intro, so good.
Oh, I forgot to mention that.
Sandman intro to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
That Sandman scene, the emotion of like them being at school and then like the music kicking in whenever they're wearing their Spider-Man, and then like you run and jump and you're swinging, and then you get the first instinct of the windsuit whenever you fight. And then, he hits Miles like, 17 city blocks away, and you get the first look at the stretch mechanic where you lean back and like, just, slingshot your way back across the entire map of Brooklyn and just, waylay like your way through it. Like, that opening intro was so good. So good.
Yeah.
And then like the game just sort of, like that was the peak.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It really was like that. Like I wanted more. Like I kind of thought, I was like, oh, this game's going.
Actually,
like,
no. I think about. Actually, do you know what I thought the peak of Spider-Man was? Of Spider-Man 2. I loved
the DJ minigame.
Yeah, bro, for sure. No, I loved when Peter like died momentarily. And then Harry went ape wild. I love that. That was amazing.
Crazy. Spoilers.
Yeah,
game's been out a year.
Yeah,
go play it.
Yeah, and then Peter got the symbiote for the first time, and then he went crazy. Like that, in my opinion, was the peak. But
that's a good point.
But yeah, by the way, back to Black Myth. Black Myth opening is in my personal opinion is the greatest opening of all time. Like it
was so good.
It is insane. It's insane.
I don't think it's the greatest opening of all time.
Fair enough.
I will stand behind that.
Fair
but
enough.
I do think it is really good. Hey, 100%. The Chinese version is so much better.
Oh, I know. 100%. 100.
Did you see it already?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well, didn't I send you the video today too of the guy like Frieza? Like,
yeah, literally.
Because you were saying like it kind of sounds like Frieza.
It does.
I saw that video. I was like, I gotta send that.
But yeah, like just me going on a little tangent, like a little rant, like, and just kind of speaking my mind. There are like a lot of times with Spider-Man, it's like I'm gonna call someone out here. I'm gonna call Austin out a little bit. Not calling him out, but I'm using him as an example. He beat Miles Morales recently, and he absolutely loves that game. He says a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, as he should. As he should. That game is phenomenal. But when the first moment he talked to me after beating that game, like one of the first things he said is it makes me think Spider-Man 2 is even worse now. Right?
So, did he play it after Spider-Man 2?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. And, well, I think that is very valid. I think a lot of people, and this just goes for a lot, everybody, not just, I was just using what Austin said as an example. People focus way too much on the negatives of something than the positives. Right? Like,
sure.
Like, instead of being like, yo, Spider-Man 2 had great combat, great music, great visuals. It had a really good story, But Miles Morales just has a phenomenal story. It's awesome. Like I love it. Boom, and that's why I love Miles Morales instead of like, oh no, I like Miles Morales way better than Spider-Man 2. Like it makes Spider-Man 2 seem weak. You know, it's like. Then like do you even like the game then at that point? And then they go ahead and give it like a 9 out of 10. It's like, so you've said nothing positive about it, but you still give it a 9 out of 10, right? So it's very interesting. Just because it has like some negative aspects about it, people choose to like focus on that like one aspect rather than praising all the things it does right. They only focus on that thing that it does wrong and then praise something else instead because they got that right. That's just my two cents on some things. And Austin, I'm not calling you out, Ronnie. I just use that as an example. There are people who do that with tons of games, not just Spider-Man. But yeah, that's just one of my things.
Fair point.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, are there any other games that we could get a third entry for? Actually, I'm going to say one that isn't necessarily a third entry, but it is going to complete a trilogy, and that's Gears 6, Gears of War 6. I know we're going to be a ways from away because we're getting E-Day and everything, but Gears of War 4 and 5 are completely its own thing. Like it started a whole new trilogy, so we need 6 to close out that trilogy. I think that could be really exciting as well. Yeah, I don't know. Any other third games you could think of?
I don't think none really pressing sort of came to mind right away. There's probably one I'll think about 2.5 hours from now.
Right, exactly.
Be like, dude, I should have said.
You know what? I'm really curious what Game Science is gonna do next.
Yeah. After this,
like, are they gonna try like a Black Myth 2 or something? You know,
sky's the limit now.
They made $600 million in revenue off this.
How do you live up to, like, do you try to live up to Black Myth Wukong? Like, do you follow up Black Myth Wukong? Do you go another game direction? Like, you spent a lot of time. Like, this game was originally previewed in 2020, and you were working on it a long time before then. You know,
probably
here
like
it is 4
years
later.
my guess.
Yeah, God knows afterwards. So, like, do you really like just delve your next project right into the same side of kind of thing, or do you take your time like away from this? Which, I mean, mind you, if it completes the story of Journey to the West, like where would you go with it without the inspiration? You know what I mean? So, I guess we'll see. We'll see what their plan is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, back to my little rant tangent. It happens a lot when people are comparing games, like you're, I guess, how do I put this? I wouldn't say arguing, debating about games. I would say, debating. Like a lot of times, and I do this as well. I'm guilty about this.
6 years took them to make that game.
Yeah, I believe it.
2018 was the start of the development.
I believe it. But like, for instance, what's the best way I can explain it? Like, let's just say, for example, me and you are talking about Horizon versus God of War, right? I'm on the God of War side, and you're on the Horizon side. Let's just say it.
Sure.
Let's do this as an example. And we're having a debate, and I'm like, I like God of War better, and you're like, I like Horizon better. A lot of times, if I was your typical Twitter user or just somebody, I would be like, yeah, but Horizon's like slower, and the story isn't as emotional, and you know, like sometimes open world feels bland in that game. Visuals carry the game, right? That's what everyone would say, but then they would still give it a 9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas what they mean is they just like what God of War has better, not Horizon does anything wrong.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. Is like people focus on the weaker parts of games than the positives. It's like
I mean, that was always like the same kind of way that like I would, you know, even though it was like a running ongoing joke with us, Like that's just always been the point that I've had with like The Last of Us 2 with you.
Yeah.
I was like, although you prefer the first one so much,
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily make the second one bad.
Right. And yeah, that's why I always,
Right.
I just don't like the story of it.
Right.
And that's what I say. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much my whole thing with that is like, instead of proving your point by making another game feel worse, prove your point by making your game feel better. Like,
Yeah, sure.
like, instead of me saying what I don't like about Horizon to get my point across, why don't I just say why I like God of War, you know?
Yep.
Because at that point, you're just purposely arguing against someone else's opinion rather than stating your own, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose. Yeah. Like, I could say God of War is better than Horizon, but then my only explanation is what I don't like about Horizon. Like, how does that portray why I like God of War?
Right.
So that's
No,
my whole argument, and I feel like that's what happens a lot with Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 with just the general community. They just say the weaker parts about Spider-Man 2 and not the positives of both.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Valid take.
Thank you. But yeah, I think that just about does it for this podcast. It's almost 2.5 hours, which is a perfect place to end. Meaty podcast today. Very great discussions. Anything else you would like to add on any of the topics?
I do. Once again, appreciate you having me on. It's nice to
absolutely
nice to come on and talk gaming with you.
Yes.
Definitely.
You were awesome.
Hope to be back with you.
Yes, you were.
Definitely hope to be
you
back
were
with you soon
fantastic.
And vibing and everything with you. I'm definitely gonna put some time into Wukong. I definitely say that I also can't just completely put Baldur's Gate down. That's how much I do love that game.
I get it. I get it.
I will say that. So I am sort of jumping between. I actually might play a little Baldur's Gate after we get off here.
Hey,
no, I don't think I have anything really pressing to say. Sort of about what we've talked about. Just give the game a fair try. And if you do, go into it understanding that difficulty is going to be different for everybody, and playing with John a little bit here, and then hearing a couple people come in and talk about it, and just seeing stuff online too. Like, some people are breezing through this game like cake. Some people are having trouble with like different bosses here and there, but like the general consensus is like everyone's having a good time, and that just speaks volumes. So
yeah, from what I've heard, like the experience for everybody is completely different. Which is really awesome. I love games like that. And yeah, also back off what you said. I do think this is a must-play game. Like, I don't care if you think Chinese mythology is stupid. Like, still play the game because it's just a good game. Like, that's all it is. Like, if you like good games, play it. No excuses. Play it. And if you say you don't want to play it for whatever reason, this means you don't like good games.
Highly recommend watching a walkthrough though, if you don't want to play it, because you might just generally be interested in somebody talented playing the game and taking in the story.
Yep.
That's always been my take on things. That's kind of one of the better things about this part of this generation is like, even if you don't. Because, like I said, I've mentioned numerous times, there's tons of games that we've mentioned that we have respect for that, like, I haven't played, but yes, I've watched like 4 different content creators go through and like, pour their heart and soul into a 40-hour playthrough of it, like, because I thoroughly enjoy what the story's saying. I just didn't experience it for myself hands-on.
Yeah.
So, even if you don't want to play Wukong, because maybe it is a little hard for you, or maybe you don't really like the third person, like action fighting style games, you only like, strategy type stuff, or maybe you don't like that type of lore, maybe, but like if you can appreciate a good story, maybe watch somebody else play it and just experience it at minimum. Yeah,
for sure. It's absolutely a must experience game, for sure. Well, Jordan, thank you for coming on here. You were absolutely fantastic. Absolutely loved talking to you. We'll definitely have to get you back on here ASAP.
Gladly.
I mean, honestly, any week you want to be on here, just let me know. And then any week I want you on here, I'll let you know.
For sure.
But yeah, you were absolutely wonderful. That is going to do it for the podcast this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, definitely leave a like, leave a comment section down below provided, and please subscribe. We will see you all next week for Player Way, and just throughout the week with a bunch of content coming your way. I'll see you next one. Johnny Moore out.